Step into the shadows of the 19th century with Real Horror. Guide you through the terrifying tales of 10 notorious serial killers who, despite their reign of terror, met a gruesome end. From Madame Delphine LaLaurie to the haunting, bloody gaze, join me as we unveil dark chapters of history where justice and horror intertwine. Prepare for a journey into the apocalyptic on True Horror. 10. Madame Delphine LaLaurie. Madame Marie Delphine LaLaurie was a well-known and captivating socialite who hosted lavish parties at her home in the French Quarter of New Orleans, but she hid a disturbing secret, torturing slaves for her own sick pleasure. When a young slave fell from her roof, the authorities fined LaLaurie, made her sell her other slaves, and forbade her from accepting any more slaves. However, she continued to purchase slaves through her family and social connections. On the morning of April 10, 1834, a fire broke out in the kitchen of the house. The fire brigade found an elderly woman chained to the stove, and told them that the other slaves had been taken to the attic of the house and never returned. A true horror story was discovered in the attic, a torture chamber where slaves were routinely brutalized. Disgusted by the crimes, an angry mob formed around the house, causing LaLaurie to flee to France and never return. She is believed to be responsible for at least 4 known murders. She died in France in 1842 or 1849, depending on the source. 9. William Burke and William Hare. William Burke and William Hare were serial killers living in Scotland who first made their money count when one of Hare's tenants died suddenly but still owed him rent. Hare decided to sell the body to a private anatomy teacher at the University of Edinburgh who needed cadavers for medical research. The money-hungry duo then planned to kill the tenants themselves and quickly sell the bodies. The victims were lured to a shelter, given enough alcohol to render them incapacitated, and then suffocated. They succeeded in killing and trading the bodies of 16 known victims before their evil plan was stopped. They were finally caught when one of the bodies they sold was that of Daft Jimmy, who was known to the locals. Both killers were arrested, but Hare was allowed to go free, as there was little evidence against him. On January 28, 1829, Burke was hanged, but what ultimately happened to Hare remains unknown. Records show he ended up in Ireland. 8. Johnson eats liver. Born in 1824 in New Jersey, Jeremiah Johnson is known for the legendary dark stories associated with his name. Johnson served during the Civil War as a logger, trapper, scout, and sheriff. However, he is most known for the 15-year war he fought with Native Americans who killed his wife. It is believed that in 1847, his wife, who was a member of the Flathead Native American tribe, was killed and he sought revenge. According to history books, he scalped more than 300 crows and ate their livers. It wasn't long before his reputation flourished, and he became known as Liver Eater Johnson. Eating liver was considered an insult to the crow, as it was believed to be necessary for the afterlife. Johnson took revenge on his wife and died in 1900 at a veterans' home in Santa Monica, California, at the age of 75. 7. Jane Toppan. Serial killer Jane Toppan is famously said to have said that her dream was to kill more people, helpless people, than any other man or woman who ever lived. Born in 1857, the former nurse from Boston, Massachusetts, used her patients as medical guinea pigs, changing their prescribed doses and even climbing into bed with them while they were unconscious. After an investigation that set out to explain the cause of the deaths of an unusually large number of patients, it was discovered that Toppan administered lethal doses of morphine or atropine to all of her victims. Known as the Angel of Mercy, she eventually confessed to 31 murders, although the actual number of victims is thought to be between 70 to 100 patients. She also revealed that she experienced sexual arousal from her patients who were about to die at her hands. Toppan's previous suicide attempts allowed her to receive a plea of insanity, and she was confined in a mental hospital for 40 years until her death. 6. Wild Bill Longley. Wild Bill Longley was known as one of the most dangerous gunslingers in the Old West, and bragged that he had killed 32 men. Born in 1851 in Austin County, Texas, he specifically targeted black men so he could steal their horses. His brutal killings were overlooked because the victims were former slaves. In 1870, he was conscripted as a soldier in the mountains. A former sergeant described him as an idle braggart, a notorious liar, and a man of low instincts and habits, but tolerated on account of his good nature, talent for gab, and excellent marksmanship. Eventually, his murderous ways caught him, and he was hanged for his crimes. On the night of his execution, he wrote to his brother, "I don't fear this at all. Tomorrow this time I'll be in a much better place." According to his father, Wild Bill's execution was a hoax. A wealthy uncle bribed the sheriff with $4,000 to use a special belt to fake a hanging. In 2001, historians put this tale to rest, as it was stated that the remains from the grave site were definitely those of Wild Bill. 5. Mary Ann Cotton. English serial killer Mary Ann Cotton is believed to be the mastermind behind the murders of at least 21 people, including 3 of her 4 husbands and 11 of her 13 children. Cotton's method was cruel. She poisoned her victims with arsenic and then cashed out the insurance policies. Police officials became suspicious when her stepson died, and she made a trip to the insurance office first before informing the doctor. It was discovered that she had moved around the country, and almost everyone close to her died of stomach fever. After being framed for the murders, Cotton did not have a happy ending. In 1873, she was hanged by the cruel hangman William Onge Calcraft, who insisted on using a short rope. Instead of her life ending with a broken neck, she was strangled with a rope like craft, which would have been an agonizing death. Writer Charles Dickens described this method as a treacherous craft. 4. Jesse Pomeroy. Jesse Pomeroy is the youngest person convicted of first-degree murder in Massachusetts history. He was 14 years old at the time. Known as the tormented boy, when he was 10 years old, he was already thirsty for blood and began ripping the heads off his mother's songbirds. On Boxing Day 1871, 4-year-old William Payne was found hanging from a rope in an outhouse. Pomeroy's violent attacks then became more frequent. He stabbed other boys with a knife, held their heads under water, and scratched them with his fingernails. Eventually, Pomeroy's reputation for violence got the better of him, and after the death of another 4-year-old boy, whose throat was cut almost to the point of decapitation, he was arrested. In all, Pomeroy killed 2 boys, attempted to kill another, and tortured 8 others. When asked what should be done with him, he replied, "Put me somewhere, I cannot do such things." He was convicted of murder and sentenced to death by hanging. However, this was changed to solitary confinement for life when 2 governors refused to sign the death warrant. He died behind bars at the age of 72. 3. The Killer-Made Girl. During 1884 and 1885, a serial killer known as the Maid Girl Exterminator terrorized Austin, Texas, dragging sleeping women from their beds to mutilate and kill them. 8 people, 7 women and 1 man, were killed with an axe, and 6 of the victims were discovered with a sharp object inserted into their ears. The New York Times reported, the murders were committed by a cunning madman who was crazy about killing women. Police officers were mystified by the crimes and interviewed more than 400 male suspects. Rumors spread among black communities that the killer was a white man skilled in practicing sorcery, as he was able to enter the homes where maids slept and then leave without being discovered. Also, no guard dogs barked outside any of the buildings. The real killer was never caught, and his identity remains a mystery. 2. Amelia Dyer. British serial killer Amelia Dyer was a twisted child farmer believed to have been responsible for the murders of more than 400 children over a 30-year period. She announced in a newspaper, "A couple with no family will adopt a healthy child, and a nice country house." Terms, £10. In reality, she took children from struggling single mothers, strangled them to death or poisoned them with a drug, and dumped the bodies. Then, in 1896, the body of a 15-month-old girl was found in the River Thames. The small body was wrapped in a brown paper parcel with Dyer's name and address on it. Dyer changed her address so frequently that it took the police a long time to track her down. When they finally found her, she was charged with the murders. She was nearly 60 years old, the oldest woman to be executed since 1843. 1. Bloody Gays. In the early 1870s, Kansas was home to a family of vicious serial killers known as the Bloody Benders. John and Elvira Bender, along with their 2 children, John Jr. and Kate, are believed to have been responsible for the deaths of at least 11 known victims. The 5 by 7 meter, 16 by 24 feet, timber frame house they lived in sold groceries out the front and doubled as an illegal funeral parlor in the back. When several people from Labette County went missing, the townsfolk called an emergency meeting, and a few days later, the Benders fled to it. Investigators discovered that the family had been inviting travelers to their home, slaughtering them, and burying the bodies. It is estimated that they stole about $4,500 in total from their victims. The crafty family even built a trapdoor into their house so the bodies could be hidden out of sight until there was somewhere to bury them in the garden. Investigators found 8 bodies buried in the garden. One of the victims was no more than 8 years old. 3 other bodies were found in the surrounding area. The Gays were never seen again. As we conclude this bone-chilling journey through the annals of history, we're left with a haunting reminder of the darkness that once lurked in the shadows of the 19th century. The tales of Madame Delphine LaLaurie, William Burke and William Hare, Johnson Eats Liver, Jane Toppin, Wild Bill Longley, Mary Ann Cotton, Jessie Pomeroy, the killer-made girl, Amelia Dyer, and the chilling enigma known as Bloody Gays serve as a somber testament to the horrors that humanity is capable of. If you found this exploration into the depths of real horror intriguing, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to stay tuned for more spine-tingling content. Thanking you for joining us on this unsettling journey, and until next time, stay curious, stay cautious, and stay curious about the dark corners of our shared history.